Week here on Feedback tonight with Bernie Milliron from the American Red Cross and Hillary Rodham Clinton back in the news again. We'll be talking about that tonight on Feedback. Well, it seems I can't go a week without talking about Hillary Rodham Clinton, so I'm going to do that in a minute. But first, welcome to this Tuesday night edition of Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to have Bernie Milliron from the American Red Cross here to talk about the things that organization does. But as I said, I'm going to talk about Hillary Rodham Clinton for a little bit. As you know, she's sort of running for Senate out there in New York, sort of because she has an exploratory committee but hasn't confirmed anything. Well, just the other day I was scouring the wires and I saw this story from the Associated Press, and this is a quote from the first line of it. Hillary Rodham Clinton said today that she will decide after the first of the year whether to pursue her bid for a Senate seat from New York. And that slug sort of just made me think she's going to wait until after the first of the year. So I went on and read the article that she says that she will start interviews with the media after the first of the year, pretty much saying that she is going to do it, but not really officially announcing it. Obviously, you know how those politicos go with doing that. And she also talked about her support for Vice President Gore, who's running for president. She supports Gore, but also had some kind words for Bill Bradley. She says that she's very pleased that both of them have come forward with some important ideas and positions for this campaign. So she's not necessarily saying no to Bill Bradley, but she has endorsed Al Gore. And she also talked at a press conference or a luncheon, I believe it was, the other day about decreasing pension and health benefits for employees, obviously talking about all these things that politicos are talking about and possible senators are talking about. As you know, she may be running against New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani for the Senate seat left empty by Daniel Patrick Moynihan in New York. But I read this whole article, and it was the same political rhetoric as always coming from her. But at the very bottom of the article, I don't know if you can see, I wrote attention, and I put a question mark. And what I meant by that was, I'm wondering if she's doing this all just to get her name in the news a lot more. Not that it really could be in the news more, but she's waiting till after the first of the year to do this. So that means that we're going to be hearing about her for another 2.5 months or so. Then in January, or whenever she does it after the first of the year, we're going to hear about it some more, that she's going to be running for the Senate seat. And now she's also talking about all these issues. I think it's an attention grabber. That's why I put that there. I always keep a pen with me when I read articles, and that was something that I noted there. And here, look at what I'm doing. I'm giving her attention, probably just what she wants. But I think it's going to turn into be a pretty interesting race out there in New York with Rudy Giuliani and Hillary Clinton. So there's all kind of good races, I think, coming up. They all should be pretty interesting to watch. So that will be coming up next year. Of course, I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot more. But we're going to take a break now. When we come back, Bernie Milliron from the American Red Cross will be joining us. Back on Feedback after this.
Early years, young children cannot stand on their own. Uniting parents and children is an important part of the life of a community. Stand for Children encourages people to make a personal commitment to stand for the health of children. 300,000 Americans marched in Washington, D.C. last June to support Stand for Children Day. Stand for Children seeks to lift the belief that children need our help to stand.
my birthday. I'm the mayor. It's my birthday.
Exercised lately? Go for
stock is what it takes, and it's Gopher, Gopher, Gopher Cakes. Open wide, stuff your face. There's always room for more Gopher Cakes. Empty the box, then reload. Eat those Gopher Cakes till you explode.
Exercised lately?
Till you explode.
Sad, looking back now, the things you go through in life. Scary. The worst thing about being on welfare was I couldn't get my kids what they really wanted. I had to get a better life for my girls and myself. I got off welfare. I got a good job. Makes me the happiest mother in the world. I live for my girls.
We're not asking you to hire everyone on welfare, just one.
Welcome back to Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. And as I said earlier, it is Health Week on Feedback because tomorrow night we're going to be talking with someone from the Keeling Health Center. But this evening we have Bernie Milliron from the American Red Cross. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with basically what is your position with the American Red Cross?
I am the administrative assistant in the Clarion office of the Red Cross, and I work with the Allegheny Region chapter. But the Clarion office is only serving Clarion County.
Oh, okay. What do you do in the office? What's your role?
Well, basically my role, since it's a one-girl office, I cover all aspects that the Red Cross handles: the blood, the health and safety, the disaster, and the service to the military.
Oh, okay, well, you sort of jumped ahead. That's a good point. What is an overview of the Red Cross? I think you sort of answered it there, but maybe you want to re-explain that. What does the Red Cross do? We hear it all the time, but what do they do?
The Red Cross is the country's #1 emergency disaster response team, and we not only serve the people locally, we also go national. Like we've got volunteers helping out in North Carolina with the hurricane, the flood situation, and anytime there is a national disaster, the volunteers that are trained to do that, we ask who would like to go, and then they're sent into that area to help. They go in, they set up shelters, offering the people that have no alternative means to stay. They provide shelter, food, clothing, just the basics of what they need to get them through this traumatic time.
Volunteers, how does that work? Do you have a certain list of volunteers from the Clarion area, maybe in your office and offices around the country? Is that how that works?
We have your own counties have your own volunteers, but then in national disasters we pull them from all the counties and send them. But each county recruits their own volunteers. And we advertise, we put ads in church bulletins, newspaper, and anything, asking people to come forward. You can pick the area you would like to volunteer, and in lieu of the fact you are a volunteer, this is not your job. You work your hours and work around whatever else is going on in your lives.
How about training? What if, say, I want to do it, but I don't know how to, I've never done anything like this before. Does the Red Cross provide training?
The Red Cross provides training, yes, free of charge to any volunteer. Like our disaster teams, our disaster area is broken up into several categories. Like we've got the mass care team that goes into the shelters and feeds basically the masses. We have the shelter operations, which operates the shelters, and just basically the disaster team that goes in and caters to whatever is needed. And our feeding team, and it is into different areas, and you just go in. Like when shelters are opened up, we take, like the mass care in, disaster health services contributes, comes in and gives actually counseling to any of these victims who are traumatized over what has happened, and because some people really are emotionally distraught over these things, and so there is the disaster health services goes in and offers free counseling to these people.
Now, you mentioned some disaster things, but also earlier I heard you say blood and I believe 2 other categories.
The service to the military, the blood, and our health and safety services. Our blood drives are throughout the community. In fact, the university here sponsors blood drives for us. They're placed out throughout the community so as not to overlap each other and pull from another person's territory because a donor can only donate every 56 days. So we have to make sure that we're not pulling from two places at the same time. A lot of the blood drives are community drives. The other ones are just organizations that are sponsored by that organization, and it's their donors that give.
Generally, does that blood, say we give here at the university, is that going to stay in the Clarion area?
It goes everywhere.
It does?
It basically goes to wherever it is needed.
Okay. And what about the other two aspects of the Red Cross?
The service to the military. The service to the military is provided for servicemen who need messages gotten to them about tragedies in their families, and not always tragedies, sometimes births, which is wonderful news. But if there would be a death or illness, a serious operation, this has all gone through the Red Cross. And the reason you're probably thinking, well, why can't this person just call through themselves? The reason for that is if the call has to be placed through the Red Cross, if they're demanding the serviceman have leave or asking permission that he have leave to come home, because the military knows if it comes through the Red Cross, this information has been verified through doctors, nurses, morticians, and this is a legitimate reason to grant the serviceman leave, and that it's not like maybe just a lonely family member who wants him home for that reason. And so if leave is granted, it is a legitimate reason.
So if you're sort of working with the government in that one, I would guess, are you considered a government agency?
No.
No, you're not.
The Red Cross is a non-profit organization, and it is not government funded at all. Most of our funding comes from donations and if there's grants available, but none of it is through the government.
Okay, and the last aspect?
Is our health and safety courses, which many of the people have taken the health and safety courses. We offer the CPR, the first aid, lifeguarding, CPR for the professional rescuer. We actually offer babysitting training for children aged 11 to 15 who would like to babysit, and this is just basically how to handle emergency situations should they arise.
Now, how does that work? How can people get in contact with you to maybe take those courses or to find out what the complete list of courses are?
They can call our office at 226-7040. Most of the people that need to take the CPR and the first aid courses know they have to take it because it's a job requirement. So they will call us to find out when our classes are scheduled, or if they have a group large enough, and they prefer 8 to 10, we will go to their facility and train just their employees for one of our health and safety programs, whatever they need.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Red Cross when we come back. Interesting, I don't think a lot of people realize all these things that really the Red Cross does. We'll talk a little bit more when we come back after this.
Introducing new frequent phone hours.
Use the phone just 8 hours a week and get this free phone cradle. Use it 12 hours and get a speakerphone.
Use it 15 hours and get this cool headset.
Or stay on the phone 20 hours a week
And get a pasty complexion.
flabby body, and a great new nickname at school.
Exercised lately?
I like all my friends there. I want my mother to be there. My hair's gonna be done so beautiful. A lot of music, a nice blue dress. I want to be beautiful for every single person that goes there. If I get shot, I want to have a nice funeral.
Every day, 10 children are killed by gunfire. Help stop the violence. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT for free information. Not one more lost life. Not one more grieving family. Not one more.
It's not just about making plans. It's about making a difference and taking an interest, not just earning it. At every more than investing, it's about knowing you.
My every hope, my life, my world, it all begins with a dream.
Edward Jones, investing in you and your dreams.
In Clarion, see Gary Martin, located on Main Street. Phone 226-7896.
And we are back on Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. It is Health Week on Feedback. We are here with Bernie Milliron from the American Red Cross. Once again, thanks for joining us. Before the break, we were talking about training that the American Red Cross offers. Can you explain that a little bit more? Is that done out of your office? Is that done out of the chapter? Or is that something nationally? How would people get trained?
The trainings in this area come out of our chapter in Reno. We have a trainer up there that comes to the sites that needs trained. Also, we have different people who are extended into our chapter who teach these programs. We have many of the CUP students who teach our lifeguarding programs for the Red Cross. But they teach them, there are courses and they teach them under the Red Cross.
And are those, how are they offered? Say I call up and I want to take a lifeguarding class or a CPR class. Do you already have dates set?
We have set dates for the community first aid and safety classes, for the CPR review classes, but if you need a special class and you've got enough to constitute a class, which like I said we prefer 8 to 10 people, we will schedule that in and work with you, and you can either come to our facility and take the class or it can be held at your organization.
Okay, and how can they get in contact with you again?
They can just call the Clarion office at 226-7040 and we can handle any questions they have.
Okay, is that just normal business hours or is that 24 hours a day?
The Red Cross is on call 24 hours a day. Now our office hours in the Clarion office are 9 to 4, but after our office closes at 4 o'clock, our phones are switched over to an answering service, and we have what takes over after hours, which is called our DAT team, which is our Disaster Action Team. This team carries a beeper at all times, and if they're paged due to a disaster in the area, they respond and they handle it just as if it were normal office hours.
Okay. Now generally, who would be calling if there was a disaster? Would that be the police or fire departments?
If there is a local disaster and it's office hours, the fire department calls us. Basically what we tend to hear locally is, now we all remember the floods of '96, and of course the Red Cross was involved in that with cleanup and shelters and providing food to these people, but we don't really have a lot, thank goodness, of local disasters. So what basically we respond to in the form of our disasters are fires, and we do have quite a few fires, and the fire company is good enough to notify. If it's office hours, they call the office. If not, they call the answering service, and the answering service knows who is on call at all times and calls these DAT people out. And these DAT people will go to the scene of the fire. They will meet the immediate needs, like to get these people through maybe just a couple nights until they can get reestablished. If they do not have friends or family or neighbors that they can stay with, we will provide motel rooms for them, clothing, food, just whatever they need immediately to get them through the moment.
Okay, so basically you're doing fires a lot in the area.
Yes.
And your volunteers are taking care of things like clothing and things like that. They're not doing anything medical, am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's still the fire department.
Yes.
Anything else local that you would be involved in that maybe we wouldn't hear about something besides a fire? And you said flood cleanup. Is there anything?
Basically what the Red Cross does is natural disasters. We only assist in natural disasters.
Okay.
So it would have to be like storms or floods, more or less acts of God is what we're involved in.
Okay. And before the show we were talking a little bit about what's going on in North Carolina with the cleanup. Do volunteers from local chapters go to that? Is that how that works?
Yes. In fact, I was in a meeting and they came in and they said, how many people would like to go to North Carolina? And those that wanted to go and were trained to go, there's certain trainings that you have to go through in order to be able to deal with the disasters. Like there's trainings that to take prior to, and anybody that's qualified to go and is willing to go, we send them.
Okay. Now, you work for the Red Cross, like that is your profession, am I correct?
Yes.
You're not considered a volunteer. So would you be able to, would you be a person who might go to North Carolina, or would you coordinate local people, local volunteers?
If I had the training in that area to go, now I've got like just local disasters, but I am not trained to go national yet. But if I wanted to, being paid or volunteer, you've got the option of going.
Oh, okay. Locally, how is the reaction to maybe joining the Red Cross? Is there a lot of local volunteers? Do you want more?
We always want more volunteers. We always want more volunteers, and we can always use more volunteers because that is what the Red Cross does. Without our volunteers, the Red Cross would not exist. And we appreciate our volunteers and thank them and definitely want more.
Okay. And let's say someone does want to help with the Red Cross, but doesn't necessarily think they can handle maybe going and helping out a disaster. Can they give monetary donations?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Red Cross accepts monetary donations, but we are not equipped to handle like clothing and food. And we've had many wonderful organizations call us to help the people in North Carolina, and they've done clothing drives and food drives, and they've called about it, and we are really not equipped to deal with that, because basically what we do, we go into the disaster area and then pull from that area to get what we need to help out, because we have no means of transporting like food and clothing, so we get it in that area when we arrive.
I see. Say that there is a group of volunteers from the Clarion area that maybe would go to North Carolina, then I'm guessing they're under the control now or the leadership of someone from the national level, or would that be someone from a local chapter there?
It would be set up on the national level.
Okay.
And there would be people there that were definitely in charge. But when you're sent, you pretty much know what your job is and you know how to take over and do it, because that's the training you receive. But there would be the people in charge, but our group would go in, like say from Clarion County, and the ones who would be trained, like say in disaster health service, would know I've got to tend to these people that are traumatized, that need help dealing with this. The ones who are in mass feeding, they would be feeding these people and making sure that they've got cots to sleep on. And everybody would know their job and do their job. You wouldn't go in and it would be chaos. It would be structured, it would be organized and under control.
Would that be because you're trained in something specific and you could probably only do that once you got there? Would that...
You are trained, you usually are trained in one category, but many of them are very flexible and have training in all categories, so when they go there, they're able to help out in every area. Like if one area were shorthanded and they were able and trained for that, they could help in both aspects of it.
And is the Red Cross international?
It's a
international organization or just national?
It's, well, oh gee, now there you stumped me.
Okay, because like we've been talking a lot about North Carolina, I was just wondering, so maybe from that, can we assume that...
We are international, I'm sorry, yes, because we have gone beyond our boundaries, yes.
I was going to say, I guess I could probably also answer my next question, that I guess a lot more volunteers stay within the United States.
Most of them prefer it, yes.
Okay. And what about travel expenses? Who pays for that?
The Red Cross picks up this expense.
Oh, okay.
If you choose to go, it is at the Red Cross expense.
Okay, back to funding a little bit. You were saying maybe I want to make a monetary donation. I could just do that. But how else do you get funding? I mean, I'm sure that provides a good source of money, but that, for such a large organization, that couldn't provide everything, could it?
If we can get grants and things like that, grants are available to us, and basically it's just through our volunteers and the grants and the monetary contributions.
Because it seems like, such an large organization.
It is a very large organization, yes.
Hear about so much. Now you said you were for Clarion County, but you're part of the Allegheny chapter.
The Allegheny chapter, yes.
Okay, and is that just western Pennsylvania? Do you know the boundaries of that?
I'm not sure of the boundaries of that, because our main office is in Reno, which is just outside of Franklin. And then we have Meadville in that area too, and then the Clarion. And how much of that the Allegheny region actually takes in, I'm really not sure, and I should know that.
That's all right. Back to training for a little bit here. We were saying CPR and things like that, and the babysitting thing, I found that kind of interesting. Does it cost to take those classes?
Yes, it does. The community first aid and safety class is a $35 class, and then like if you're doing a review, like if you're doing like a CPR review and you already have your book, which you should because you've had this class before, the fee is less for that. It's like $21 if you've got your own book, and then it's $27 if you have to get the book again. But usually the people that come in to do the review have already taken the class, and their certification is close to expiring, so they renew to keep it active.
Oh, so you can be certified in something, but it does expire?
It does expire,
yes. Is that in every category? Or just is that just sort of a general thing? Most
the CPR you take every year.
Oh, okay.
And then the first aid and safety is, or the first aid is good for 3 years, but you renew every year for the CPR, and that's why a lot of them will come in and like just do a CPR review as opposed to taking the whole course, which would be the first aid and the CPR.
Okay, let's just give a quick recap here. What are the 4 things again that the Red Cross does?
Blood, which everybody thinks of when they think of the Red Cross, is blood, but as you can see, we do so much more. We do the disaster, we do the health and safety programs, and the service to the military. And this is all 24-hour services, which the health and safety you don't need after hours, and the blood mobiles, but the service to the military and the disaster is 24-hour service, and there is always somebody ready to respond.
Okay, and how can people get in contact with your office if they want to volunteer or give a monetary donation?
They can either call or basically just call us at the number 226-7040, and usually when they donate like to disaster, we ask that you specify what this is for. Like we've got a lot of donations that come in that is just made out to the Red Cross, so this can go to help any aspect. But if they want to specifically donate to a disaster area like North Carolina, we ask that you please mark on your check disaster fund and then the area you want it to go to, like North Carolina or wherever you designate.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We learned a lot about the Red Cross this evening. We'll be back after this.
Standing out from the crowd is easy when you stop in at Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall. Whether you're looking for junior trendy, girls, or fashion for women, they have it all with many different styles. With our newly expanded shoe and accessory department, you're surely to find that special touch to enhance that new outfit. And if you have a fashion question, our experts are here to help. That's Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall, just off Exit 9 of Interstate 80. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. Sunday from noon till 5.
Where have all the children gone? Long time passing.
Every day, 10 children are killed by gunfire. You can help stop the violence. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT. Not one more lost life. Not one more grieving family. Not one more.
Gone to graveyards one by one. Oh, when will we ever learn?
News travels fast. That's why you need the speed and accuracy of a news team that brings coverage closer to home. Every Tuesday and Wednesday night, join TV5 News for Clarion's only live local newscast on television at 8. Tune in for the latest in regional, state, and national news. Plus, with our newspaper exchange partner, the Clarion News, teaming up to bring coverage closer to home every Tuesday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Clarion's only live local newscast on television at 8 is here on TV5.
And we're back here on Feedback. We want to thank Bernie Milliron from the American Red Cross for joining us. Pretty interesting show. And coming up tomorrow, Health Week continues with the representative from the Keeling Health Center. We'll see you tomorrow night.